Hey there everyone, Paller here, and welcome back. Today I want to talk about, well, it's mostly going to be about Star Citizen and then the channel going forward. So, I had one of those amazing nights last night with Star Citizen, and this is somewhat gushing, wanted to share what's going on, why this has changed my point of view. Up until now, I have been someone that has been cautiously optimistic about the game. I realized that they promised more than most AAA developers with the biggest budget could deliver. They promised so much, it was out of this world. And I was one of those ones until they broke like 40 million invested or whatever you want to call it, purchased into, bought into, donated, however you want to break it down. I was one of those ones that was like, there's no way they're doing this game, even half of what they're doing, on 10, 20, 30 million dollars. Now that they're up to 110 million ish, they're going to probably break 130 million this year. They have the funds to probably do what they need to do. That part of it's been alleviated. I still think they've overpromised. I have a lot of problems with how they developed it. Like, I like the idea of Star Marine, but to me it seems like they should have taken that and put Star Marine as this is going to be the first big feature we add in post-launch, right? Set up the base foundation, because obviously when they create the engine, create the characters and all that, something like that, Star Marine needs to be taken into account for. But I wish they would, rather than bring in a whole other team to work on this, use those funds to focus on the main game the first time through. And then once the game is at least, soft launched, then start adding in Star Marine. That's personally. So I've been following the game. I've been enjoying it. I'm hopeful for it, but I've always been hesitant about it. But last night was one of those nights, and it's one of those experiences that happen occasionally within video games, where you play something, and after you're done, you're like, I can see how this is going to change the industry. I can think of several events. I can remember Super Mario 64, and after playing that game, it was clear, and although now going back, the controls were clunky, the camera was a little weird, but it was very clear this is going to change how platformers, 3D platformers, 3D third-person games are going to be handled. It's changed everything. Here's the line now, and you got to move on from there. I remember Halo and diving in and being like, this just changed how you do a single-player campaign. Before that, I remember Half-Life, and this just changed how you do a single-player campaign within a first-person shooter. I remember games like Turok and GoldenEye, and they changed how we looked at multiplayer. And when you played them, there was no going back from there. Probably the biggest one that I really remember, StarCraft. I'd always enjoyed RTS games. They were always one of my favorite games to play. Command & Conquer was pretty good. Warcraft was really good, and then I played StarCraft and StarCraft Brood War, and it was like, there's no going back from here. This has now just set the bar. You've got to match it or beat it, or you're just not competing. And I'm hesitant to say what I did last night was one of those events, because Star Citizen, as we just discussed, it is a work in progress. All those other games, it was all pre-early access, pre-betas. Well, betas obviously happened, but pre-buy-in for beta and all that. And when we played Mario 64, it was a finished product. When I played Halo Combat Evolved, it was a finished product. And obviously that is not the case here. So while what I experienced last night, to me, was that type of event, it's hard to say that, because I also realize what I played last night could be the final version of the game. It's entirely possible, though probably not plausible, but possible, that we never get another update into Star Citizen. And that's all that there is. It's also very plausible and possible that the game is never going to be what they promise it's going to be. It's going to fall somewhere in between, most likely, but both are possible, and if not plausible, possible. There's not a lot of P's there. So I'm hesitant to throw that in there. And I guess what I got to do is I just got to talk about what we did last night and how we enjoyed it, because it would make more sense. And all the footage you're seeing here, this is obviously post-commentary. I'm going to chop the footage up just to show some of the events that happened. But they were events in this small little cross section of what the final game is going to be, and they were so much fun. It was an experience that I have not had gaming. There's been games that have had parts of these experiences, but none of them that ever put this all together. There were elements of a multiplayer Minecraft server in there. There were elements of Wing Commander in there. There were elements of World of Warcraft in there in terms of the overall thing. But there's been this is the first one where I've seen it all put together. So let's stop talking about that. Let's get into the details of what happened, some of the stories of it, and why I'm all in on Star Citizen as of today. So there were three of us playing. There was myself, Vega Death, who's been in quite a few of my videos. He's one of the common people I game with. And another gentleman named Fritz. He's a member of PAX Gaming. And we were messing around with the multi-crew ships. The first thing we want to do is I just pick up the Cutlass Black. And I wanted to... The Cutlass Black has a command pilot seat, and it also has a secondary seat. And whenever you get in the secondary seat, it doesn't do anything unless someone's in the pilot seat. So I needed a second player to jump in, get into the pilot seat so I could get into the back seat and just see what that control panel was. I wanted to experience what it was like to be in the number 2 chair. And so the three of us are hanging around. We'd climb into the Cutlass. Fritz is up in the turret. I don't know what he's doing in the back of the ship. I think he's in the turret. Vega gets into the pilot seat. We take off, and I'm messing around with this control panel. The control panel is not all that remarkable to talk about here today. Basically, what it's supposed to do is you can go ahead and you can adjust the performance of the ship. So you have a slider that's it's a triangle, and on one side you have guns, on one side you have shields, and on one side you have engines. So you can reallocate power from the engines towards the shields or towards the guns. So you can have the guns and shields maxed out, but almost nothing on the engines, or you can maximize thrust. That's what you're supposed to be able to do. You can also angle your shields. You can angle the deflector shields, so you can move power from the rear shield to the front shield if you're going head on at something. All of this sounds really cool, and the control panel's there and does its thing, but it doesn't seem to actually have any effect on the ship itself. From what I can tell, they have not actually implemented the translation of what you're doing on the control panel to the ship. I was trying to take the thrust away from Vega as he was flying, but the ship thrust did not seem to change. Work in progress, that's fine. That's actually not what we're talking about. So after I've experienced this, all right, that's what the second seat does. I climb out of the chair, I turn around, and right behind the chair is what is supposed to be like a secondary exit from the ship where you get out on, I guess it would be considered the forward wing or the forward strut of the ship. And we're flying along. I think we're at cruise speed. We're not at warp, but we're moving at a pretty good clip. I just open the hatch and climb out onto the wing of the ship. Just flying along. Now, it ends as you might expect. All of a sudden, I'm just floating in space and the ship's flying off thousands of meters away from me. But this was amazing to happen. First of all, it was absolutely hilarious. It was glitchy. The game was trying to translate me from standing on a floor moving at, let's say, 270 kilometers an hour to on a wing, which then I don't have any traction, to now I'm just floating in space. And there was no loading, there was no crashing or anything like that, but it did kind of glitch to get me out of there. But it was just, I'm in the ship, I'm climbing out, and now I'm floating in space. And this was amazing. They then turn around, they come back, and they could see me because we were all grouped up in a squad. And they come back, and being smartasses, because I'm floating in space, they decide to shoot me. And I die. As you might expect, the human body cannot take a ship laser, a laser designed for destroying ships. Doesn't work very well. So I die, and these two dummies get flagged as pirates for killing me. So they're on their way back to Olisar to pick me up, because I respawned back at Olisar because I wasn't flagged. And as they're landing, the security forces are attacking them in my ship. So they're attacking my ship as they're flagged. One of them dies. The other one manages to fly off somehow. So now we have to go ahead and we have to head out to the security posts to lower their wonder level. I talked about this briefly in my 2.5 update video. They have to go through the same process as me. Fly out to the security post, hack the terminal, wait about 90 seconds, and it reduces your wonder level. So that's what we have to do. And we go ahead and we group up and we're heading out there to do this thing. And just the dumbest things that you could imagine happen. First of all, we get out there and we lower Vega's wanted level. As we're arriving, Vega decides to fly his ship into one of the gravity rings, blowing himself up. The debris from his ship falls down and hits my ship. At least I think this is what happens, which destroys my ship. Now he's dead. Fritz arrived ahead of us. He got shot by another player, so he's dead. So I'm stranded on this platform with no ship. So this random guy shows up to, I don't know what he was doing. He was probably showing up to get rid of his security one on level 2. He lands. I'm hiding on the platform with a machine gun. I try to kill him as he gets out of his ship because I'm going to steal his ship so I have a ship. He runs away. As he's doing this, the other guys show back up, so we decide to go inside. Well, we go ahead, we go inside, we get their wanted levels reduced, or at least get one of their wanted levels reduced. At which point, Fritz brings in a different ship. So we climb into the back of Fritz's ship. The guy that I was originally shooting at on the landing pad climbs into the ship with us. He doesn't know I'm the one that was shooting at him. He's just hanging out with us as we fly off. Just fly off. And this random guy, no idea who he is, just is riding around in the back of this ship with us. We had another event. We were back on the Olisar with my Cutlass, and we're standing in the back of my Cutlass, and this guy, I remember his name, Durka, runs by me, climbs into the pilot's seat of my Cutlass, and takes off with the back loading dock open, and Vega and I just standing there. Just like, what? Flies off with us standing in the back of the ship. So as soon as he goes to warp, when you're at Olisar, there's a weapons lock on your systems. You can't fire any guns, including your primary and your secondary, your pistol or whatever, your on foot weapons, right? You can't use ship weapons or standard soldier weapons. So as soon as he goes to warp, we go outside of that security area. I pull out my pistol. I shoot Durka in the head, who's still sitting in the pilot's seat of my ship. The Cutlass has this odd cockpit configuration where when no one's in the cockpit or no one's in the pilot seat, the seat slides to the left, like out of line of sight, because it's in this narrow like chassis. So it slides to the left, that way you can get in and out of it. So you climb into it, it slides to the center, that way you're centered in the field of view, you get out, it slides back to the left. Well, since I shot Durka in the head while he was flying, his body despawned, the game never registered that anyone got out of the pilot's chair, so the pilot's chair is stuck in the middle of the ship. We're flying through space at cruise speed. I can't get into the pilot's chair, there's nothing I can do, we're just flying along, and I have to commit suicide and respawn. That was just half the night. We then had, Fritz has probably the most impressive ship I've seen in the game. It's called the Starfarer. It's some type of resource hauler. It comes in different configurations, but basically you'll see this ship. It's absolutely massive when I throw it up there. But on this ship, it has on the back like 6 or 8 large pods. They look like fueling pods. And above these pods, now outside of the actual ship itself, so you have to go through like an airlock door to get out on this, there's a catwalk area over top of pipes that run between all these pods. It's kind of like, I think it's supposed to be like a service area if you were going to service the pods, use it as a refueling thing or whatever. And we're flying around, we're coming up on a space station, and in order to, we're actually going back to the security outpost because someone else got flagged for piracy again, and we had to go back and reset someone else's wanted level. And we're just wandering around while he's flying us around because this ship is immensely impressive. And we end up walking out onto this catwalk as we're flying through space. So we're standing on this catwalk in the vacuum of space as he's flying along, and it was almost like out of a movie. Fritz came in, and because the ship was as big as the space station, bigger than 2 of the landing pads put together, he couldn't land on the station. So he comes in and he's rotating the ship because all the embark and disembark points are on the back end of the ship. So he comes in and then he's going to spin the ship around 180 degrees so the ass is facing towards the space station and we're going to jump in. And Vega and I are standing on this catwalk outside in the vacuum of space as the ship rotates around, and it was like right out of a movie. Watching, there was like a planet or a moon with a bunch of asteroid marks on and everything, and then this rotates around and this space station comes into line of sight. Without any loading screens, nothing, I just jump over the railing, which is supposed to keep us inside from falling off when this thing's moving, and EVA right down to the space station. We go on down, I forget how, but the other 2 guys die, so I'm the only one left. So I jump back off the space station, EVA back up, fly right back into the back of the cargo bay of the ship, the Starfarer, get into the cockpit, and fly away. It was just incredible. everything that we did. And then there was, we ended up fighting pirates and the ship took damage. I couldn't get the ship to stop because one of the engines or something was jacked up on the ship. I didn't have a brake for it anymore, or the vectoring thruster, something was wrong with the ship. I couldn't stop it. It was overall just one of the most incredible nights of video gaming I've had in recent memory. There were just so many holy shit moments. Did that just happen? And like I said, I am now all in on Star Citizen. I realize the game is not going to deliver what all is promised. But if it can get 60, 70% of the way there and not be a buggy mess, the potential this thing has of just those water cooler moments with you and your friends, it's insane what it could be. So to bring this all back to now what I want to talk about with the channel. What's going to essentially happen is, going forward with the channel, I'm going to create a new section similar to what I did with World of Warships and similar to what I did with Black Desert Online. And what I want to do is I'm going to put together videos with some basic instruction videos, how to go ahead and get your hangar. Because I had to look it up. The hangar, getting into it was fine, but using the hangar, getting your ships in the hangar and everything, and in fact this video has already been recorded, just needs to be rendered out, is going to be going up. So I'm going to do some basic tutorial videos and everything again. And then what I want to do going forward is, within PAX Gaming, there's enough of us that bought in. We have a pretty good selection of the overall ships. As the ships become flight ready, or as they're added in as one of the free ships to use, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put videos together about the different ships. So you can see, before you go ahead and invest in, you can take a look and see what the ship is, get a general idea of how it's coming along, the aesthetics of it, the performance of it, and so on. That's going to be mainly what I'm going to do. So there's going to be patch update type things. This is what patch 5.6 brings. I think that's supposed to be a netcode update. That might be 5.7. 5.6 might be the stability for the walking and all that. Anyway, I'm going to do updates. I'm going to do basic tutorials, how to add people in the friends list, because you actually kind of need to know what you're doing with that. It's not the easiest thing. And then these ship overview videos, learning your ship, explaining what the different ships are, so you can be a better informed purchaser. They're not going to be weekly. They're not going to be like that. I'm still going to do the other content. There's still going to be, hey, what's that videos? We're getting into the holiday season now, so there's going to be some big videos coming up real soon. Next month in October is Shadow Warrior 2. Really looking forward to that. We got Civilization 6 coming out here soon. Maybe Titanfall 2. I don't know if I'm in on that one or not, though I am in on the Vietnam game, Red Orchestra 2 Vietnam, I think it's being called. The Red Orchestra Vietnam game. Battlefield 1. There's a lot of games coming out. So those are going to still happen. Those are going to be the primary bread and butter. But in conjunction with what I was doing with like World of Warships or Black Desert, I'm going to start putting together videos for Star Citizen. I'm going to put a pretty hardcore focus on dedicating a chunk of the channel to Star Citizen. And I think that mostly covers it. That's basically what happened within Star Citizen. That was the amazing change for me, that I'm now all in on it. That's the plan of the channel going forward. If you do have requests or recommendations, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. As with most any other time I've done one of these videos, if it's something I'm not interested in doing, I'm not going to do it. Obviously, I'm not doing this for a living. This is just a passion project I do. But if it does incorporate in with something I would enjoy doing, I will take it into consideration and see what I can do. So any feedback would be appreciated. Until next time, this has been Paler. Thanks for watching.